Dad, I'm the Pentagon officer investigating the cyber attack that could bankrupt your company. And you're one of my prime suspects. The rain slashes sideways against Madison Pierce's windshield as she guns her car down the dark highway outside Ashford, Oregon. Streetlights flash over wet asphalt, each white stripe a strobe through the fogged glass. She tightens her grip on the wheel, the leather slick beneath her fingers. Jaw clenched so hard her teeth ache. Thunder booms overhead, rattling the windows. Her phone buzzes in the passenger seat, its screen glowing an urgent message. Colonel Pierce. Critical alert. Intrusion trace leads directly to Vanguard Defense Systems. Orders investigate immediately. Colonel! At 35, not 29. Older than she ever planned for this level of responsibility, but no longer a child prodigy in uniform, a seasoned military intelligence officer who'd clawed her way through the Army's cyber warfare ranks the hard way. No fast-track golden ticket. No neat climb. Just long years of hacking countermeasures, midnight code audits, and operations where one keystroke meant the difference between quiet prevention and national headlines. And now her biggest investigation has led her home. She wipes rain from her forehead, eyes burning as the GPS blinks the turn for Parker Road. Madison almost laughs at how cruel the universe can be. 5 years away, and she's right back where she started, driving toward the house where her family still believes she's some mid-level tech in a safe desk job. The same family that worships her father, Daniel Pierce, Director of Technology Operations at Vanguard. The man who once told her, "The military's for people who couldn't hack it in the real world." Madison's pulse spikes. She flicks on her blinker and takes the exit, tires hissing over wet concrete. Hidden under her seat lies a slim black case, not just her dress uniform, but an Army-issued encrypted laptop containing the preliminary data dump, IP traces, account logins, evidence pointing toward Vanguard's own tech ecosystem, and maybe to her father himself. Wind howls around the car, drowning the soft mechanical voice of her GPS. Madison's eyes flick to the glowing green road sign, "Welcome to Ashford." Her mind spirals back to the moment 2 nights ago, deep inside a sealed SIF in DHC. When she realized that the suspicious data exfiltration pattern matched the exact server architecture designed by Vanguard, her father's signature project. She's not just coming home for dinner. She's coming to uncover whether the man who dismissed her career for years could be implicated in the single biggest cyber breach the Pentagon has faced in a decade. She pulls into a gas station at the edge of town, killing the engine as raindrops hammer the roof like drumbeats. Outside, neon letters sputter and flicker. Gas and Go open 24 hours. Madison leans forward, pressing her forehead against the steering wheel. If Dad's innocent, I'll protect him with everything I've got. But if he's dirty, I'll take him down myself. She draws a long breath, steel creeping into her spine. Then she lifts her head, the hard gleam of resolve in her eyes. Tonight, she goes home. Tomorrow, her family's entire world might burn. The wind batters Madison as she steps out of the car, her boots splashing into puddles shining orange under the glow of a flickering street lamp. She pulls her hood closer around her face, staring up at the familiar silhouette of her childhood home. Pale yellow siding, front porch sagging slightly, a single wind chime twisting on a rusted hook, playing a mournful, off-key tune in the storm. She hesitates at the foot of the steps, the rain soaking through her jacket, breath fogging in the air. For one sharp moment, the years peel away and she's 16 again, standing here after a screaming match with her father about joining the Army instead of chasing a cushy tech internship. She shakes the memory off like rainwater. Tonight, she has a role to play. Inside, the house hums with warm light and the clatter of dishes. The instant she opens the door, the smell hits her rosemary chicken, butter melting into mashed potatoes, the faint tang of lemon zest. Her mother, Linda Pierce, whirls around from the stove, cheeks flushed pink, hair pulled into the same neat bun she's worn since Madison was a kid. "Oh my God, there you are. I was about to send out a search party." Linda rushes forward, arms opening wide. Madison stiffens as her mother engulfs her in a hug, the smell of flour and soap clinging to her clothes. "It's been forever since you came home. Look at you. Your skin and bones. Are they feeding you in deep-sea—" "I'm fine, Mom." Linda pulls back, eyes scanning Madison's face as though searching for hidden bruises. "Well, you still look exhausted. You need some real food. Come on." Madison barely has time to shrug off her jacket before her mother is steering her into the living room, where the fireplace crackles and familiar family photos march across the mantel. Every single one stops short of her military career, high school graduation, the day she got her driver's license, family vacations, but nowhere the photo of her pinning on captain or major, not a trace of the woman she's become. On the couch, her father, Daniel Pierce, sits hunched over a sleek laptop, illuminated by the soft glow of code flowing across the screen. His thick silver hair falls over furrowed brows as he mutters under his breath, "Come on, why the hell isn't this patch integrating?" Linda snaps a dish towel at him. "Daniel, close the laptop. Your daughter's home." Daniel glances up, startled, as though Madison materialized out of thin air. "Madison, you're late. Traffic, she lies smoothly. You should have left earlier. You knew Ethan would be arriving soon." A flare of irritation sparks in Madison's chest. "Sorry, Dad. Things came up." Daniel's eyes narrow slightly. "Things? What things?" "Work." He makes a dismissive noise in his throat. "You've always been so vague about what you do. You know, there's good money to be made in private sector cybersecurity. You could work for Vanguard. You'd have a stable path. Benefits. You wouldn't have to live out of a duffel bag." Madison sets her jaw. "I'm where I'm supposed to be?" Before Daniel can respond, the front door bursts open, and Ethan Pierce strides in, voice booming even before he's crossed the threshold. "Guess who just got invited to the West Coast Tech Security Summit next month? This guy." He points both thumbs at his chest, dropping his bag on the floor. Behind him, his wife, Kara, follows, clutching a designer tote, hair flawless despite the storm. Ethan throws his arms around Madison. "Mads, long time. You're still running the same old army gig, right?" Madison's lips twitch into something approximating a smile. "Something like that." Kara steps forward, offering a polite hug. "Hey, Madison, God, you look so serious all the time. You should come to one of my Pilates classes. You'd love it." Madison forces a soft laugh. "Maybe next time." Dinner is chaos. Daniel presides over the table like a CEO running a board meeting, while Linda keeps darting in and out with dishes, her voice chiding, gentle, relentless. Ethan talks with his mouth full, spinning tales of presentations and back-channel tech meetings, name-dropping CEOs and venture capitalists like they're personal friends. And Samantha Blake pulled me aside personally and said she wants me to take point on the Vanguard integration next quarter. She said my algorithms are going to revolutionize predictive threat analysis. Linda beams, eyes shining with maternal pride. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful." "Madison, did you hear that Ethan's working directly with the CEO?" Madison forces another smile, slicing her chicken with military precision. "That's great, Ethan." Ethan leans forward. "So, what top-secret stuff are you doing now?" Mads, still shuffling papers in some basement. Madison meets his eyes, unblinking. "I stay busy. You know, there's a whole world outside the military. Vanguard's looking for cybersecurity experts. You'd be a star hire. Dad could get you in." Daniel nods emphatically. "I've told you for years. You'd have a real career, not just a uniform." Madison clenches her fork. "My career is real." Ethan shrugs. "Well, it's just, Not exactly the same thing. You'd be working on the kind of systems that run the entire West Coast. That's real impact. Madison leans back. Breath steady. Words simmering in her chest she refuses to let spill out. Because she can't tell them that those same systems Ethan's bragging about are exactly what she's investigating for a possible breach. That Vanguard's shining future might hinge on her next decision. Or that her father's fingerprints might be buried somewhere in the code she'll have to dissect tomorrow. Instead, she takes a slow sip of water as the conversation flows around her, leaving her stranded in silence, a silence charged with secrets too explosive to share. Madison sits rigid at the long oak dining table, the polished surface glistening under the warm glow of the chandelier. Outside, rain rattles the windows in steady percussion, a subtle soundtrack to the storm churning inside her chest. Plates clatter as Linda sets down the final dish, steaming rosemary potatoes, her face flushed with the satisfaction of feeding her family. There, a proper meal. Nobody's leaving this table hungry. Daniel picks up his fork, eyes already scanning a folded piece of paper tucked beside his plate, a printout of server architecture schematics. Linda, can we not do the 5-course thing every time Madison visits? We're all busy people. Linda swats his shoulder with a napkin. I will cook for my children. Daniel Pierce. Even if one of them insists on playing Jane instead of getting a real job. Ethan laughs as he pours himself a generous glass of red wine. Don't take it personally. Mads, Mom still can't believe you're not in law school. Madison forces a faint smile, her fingers drumming lightly against the table's edge. I think I've proven I'm suited to my path. Of course you have, Ethan says breezily. But think about it. You could be working on billion-dollar contracts right here instead of chasing hackers across the globe. Less travel, more money. And people might actually know who you are. Madison's eyes flick to Daniel, who nods in agreement. Your brother's right. You've got the brains for this world. Madison, Vanguard would pay top dollar for your skills. I could talk to Samantha Blake tomorrow. Put in a word. Madison takes a breath, forcing her voice to remain calm. I'm not looking for referrals. Dad, Kara, seated beside Ethan, sips her water, her manicured nails clicking softly against the glass. Madison, honey, don't you ever want, normalcy, a place to call home, a routine? Madison meets her eyes coolly. I have a home. It just moves sometimes. Ethan chuckles, shaking his head. Classic? You always were stubborn. Anyway, the Vanguard rollout is going to be massive. We're talking defense-grade security, national infrastructure. My code's going to revolutionize the way threat data is visualized. Linda leans forward eagerly. See, Madison, your brother is doing such important work. Maybe you could come to the Vanguard presentation tomorrow. Meet some people. Network. Madison's voice tightens. I already have plans tomorrow. Daniel raises an eyebrow. Plans. You're here for less than 48 hours, and you've already got plans. I do. Ethan waves a hand dismissively. What some army paperwork? Meanwhile, Vanguard's about to sign the biggest defense integration contract on the West Coast. Samantha says the Pentagon's sending someone high up for the project briefing. Colonel level. Apparently, pretty big deal. Madison slices into her chicken, the knife gliding silently through the tender meat. So I've heard... Ethan leans closer, brow furrowed. Seriously, Mads, you should think about your future. You can't keep bouncing around the military forever. What happens when you're 40 and have nothing to show but a pile of medals? Madison's eyes flash. Medals aren't nothing. Well, they're not equity, Daniel interjects. They won't build you a retirement portfolio. Linda pats Madison's hand, as though comforting a child. We just want you settled, sweetheart, that's all. Madison's voice turns cold, even as she keeps her expression polite. I am settled. I just don't live in the same house every day." The conversation stalls, tension radiating through the warm dining room like a hidden electrical current. For a fleeting second, Madison considers blurting out the truth that she's the Pentagon liaison for Project Aegis, that she's the very Colonel Ethan's CEO is waiting to meet, that she's not just bouncing around, but standing guard over the nation's digital defenses, and that tomorrow, she may be interrogating her own father about the very breach that could shatter all of their lives. Instead, she forces down the words like bitter medicine. "It's fine. I'm glad you're all doing well." Ethan raises his glass again. To family, and to big futures ahead. Madison lifts her own glass slowly, her eyes hard as glass. To futures, whatever they turn out to be. The toast echoes around the table as rain thrums faster against the window panes. Each drop like the tick of a clock, counting down to the storm about to break. Night has wrapped Ashford in a heavy sodden cloak, the rain now a gentle patter against the old house's roof. Madison stands at the window of her childhood bedroom, arms folded, watching rivulets of water chase each other down the glass. The room around her feels small. Too small for the woman she's become. Trophies line the dusty shelves, debate club, honor roll, regional mathlete medals, tiny relics of a life her family still thinks defines her. But tucked inside Madison's suitcase, zipped into a slim black case, lies her truth. The uniform, the encrypted drive, the evidence that could demolish the world her father built. She lets out a slow breath, pressing her fingers to her temples. Earlier tonight, after dinner, she'd slipped into her rental car and parked under a row of dripping pines, laptop balanced on her knees, running new scans on the Vanguard breach logs. The data was damning. The breach traces didn't just point to Vanguard Systems. They mapped directly to a privileged admin account, one created under Daniel Pierce's own credentials. Her father's digital fingerprints were all over the deepest tunnels of the compromised code. She'd triple-checked the logs, run cross-references, searched for forged entries. No anomalies. And that single horrifying possibility keeps pounding in her skull. Either Dad is hiding something, or someone is setting him up perfectly. Madison's phone buzzes against the windowsill, snapping her back. A secure message flashes on the locked screen. Cole Pierce. Immediate status update required. New threat vectors identified. Vanguard Systems at critical risk. Pentagon demanding progress report. She shuts her eyes, fighting a wave of nausea. This was never supposed to be personal. She joined military intelligence because she believed in clean lines, duty, honor, the firewall between her country and the dark. But now that firewall leads straight into her father's world. And tomorrow morning, she's supposed to walk into Vanguard Defense Systems in full dress uniform and demand answers. From her own family, Madison paces the room, each step creaking the old floorboards. She thinks of Ethan, so self-assured, so quick to boast about his shiny new role at Vanguard, oblivious to the fact that his entire career might be built on compromised code. She thinks of her mother, Linda, always ready with a hug, but never ready to look beneath the surface. And she thinks of Daniel, brilliant, driven, secretive, who might be a loyal patriot, or something far worse. Madison rubs at her eyes. She's pulled off operations on foreign soil under hostile fire. She's tracked cyber cells across continents. But this feels impossible, because this time it's not just her job on the line. It's her family. Midnight creeps closer. Madison kneels beside her suitcase, unzipping it with deliberate care. She lifts out the dark blue uniform, crisp and sharp, silver eagle insignia gleaming even in the dim glow of her desk lamp. She runs her fingers along the ribbons pinned over her heart campaigns, commendations, quiet honors earned in places her family can't even pronounce. For the first time tonight, her eyes sting. She whispers to the empty room, "Please, Let him be innocent. Madison gently folds the uniform back into the case, sets it beside her bed, and sinks onto the mattress. Outside, the rain softens to a delicate hush, but inside Madison's chest, the storm only grows louder. Dawn bleeds over Portland like molten copper. The clouds bruised purple and gold as Madison steers her car off I-5 toward the Vanguard Defense Systems campus. She drives through the security checkpoint, her military ID clipped to her uniform collar, heart thudding under the sharp pleats of her jacket. The guard at the gate stiffens, scanning her rank insignia with startled eyes. Colonel Pierce. Good morning, ma'am. I wasn't expecting a military presence today. Madison returns a tight nod. Neither was Vanguard. The guard waves her through, his gaze following her as the black sedan glides past rows of pristine sedans and sparkling SUVs. She parks in a reserved space labeled Pentagon Liaison, stepping out into the cool air. Madison squares her shoulders, feeling the weight of her ribbons glinting under the pale sun. Vanguard's headquarters looms before her, a fortress of glass and steel, reflecting the rolling clouds like a shifting kaleidoscope. She strides through the sliding doors into a lobby so sleek it looks surgically clean. Polished tile gleams under her boots. A massive LED wall scrolls corporate slogans. Vanguard defending the future. Innovation, integrity, security. A receptionist nearly drops her tablet as Madison approaches. Colonel Pierce, ma'am. We didn't know you'd be coming in person. I'm not here for a tour. Take me to the executive floor. The woman nods quickly, pressing a hidden button beneath the counter. A security escort appears, radio clipped to his shoulder. Ma'am, this way? As Madison rides the elevator, the walls hum around her. She watches her own reflection in the brushed metal panels, a composed officer, jaw set, eyes shadowed with exhaustion and determination. The car glides to a halt, and the doors part onto Vanguard's top floor. Carpets muffle footsteps. Glass-walled offices line the corridor, each etched with frosted white letters. CFO, CTO, Chief Legal Counsel. She passes a row of engineers clustered over schematics, their conversation dying mid-sentence as they notice her uniform. Some eyes widen, others narrow. Suspicion, curiosity, a few outright fear. Madison stops at a conference room door, the glass inset revealing a sleek modern table inside, papers scattered across its surface. She inhales slowly, centering herself. Then she steps through the door. Inside, Vanguard's top brass glance up in near unison. Ethan sits near the head of the table, tapping through slides on a sleek laptop, a coffee mug half raised to his lips. He looks up, and the mug freezes midair. Mads, what the hell are you wearing? Daniel Pierce, seated beside Vanguard's CEO, Samantha Blake, swivels in his chair, the blood draining from his face. Madison, Colonel. Samantha Blake rises slowly, her eyes sharp, her voice cool as steel. Colonel Pierce, to what do we owe the honor? In person. Madison steps forward, her voice flat and unyielding. Vanguard Defense Systems is officially under Pentagon investigation, and I'm leading it. Gasps ripple around the room. Samantha's eyes narrow. I'd appreciate some context. Colonel? Madison places her encrypted laptop on the table, her fingers resting on the metal casing like it's a loaded weapon. Context is what we're about to have. A silence falls over the room, so thick Madison can hear the faint electric hum of the overhead lights. In that moment, every personal tie fades away. It's not daughter facing father, not sister facing brother. It's Colonel Madison Pierce, standing between the country she's sworn to protect and the people who might have betrayed it. A hush grips the boardroom as Madison locks eyes with Samantha Blake, who stands poised at the head of the table, one manicured hand resting lightly on a stack of crisp briefing folders. Rain streaks the floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights shimmering through the watery blur behind them. Ethan sets his coffee down with trembling fingers. Wait, an investigation into what? Madison lifts the lid of her encrypted laptop, pressing her thumb to the biometric sensor. The machine pings softly, then unlocks into a series of unauthorized data exfiltrations traced back to Vanguard Defense Systems, specifically to credentials tied to high-level administrative access. Daniel stares at her, color draining from his face. That's impossible. Our systems are locked down tighter than any commercial network in the country. Apparently not, Madison says evenly. The infiltration patterns match architecture only a handful of people here would even know exists. Samantha's voice cuts in, measured and icy. Colonel Pierce, are you accusing this company or individuals? Madison scans the room, taking in the tense faces of Vanguard's leadership. Right now, I'm saying that someone with deep knowledge of Vanguard's core systems either orchestrated or facilitated an intrusion. Until we eliminate internal compromise, every executive in this room is a potential vector. A ripple of shock pulses across the table. Ethan shifts in his seat, his voice cracking. Madison, come on, I'm running a UI integration. I don't even have back-end access to those server clusters. Madison levels him with a stare. Maybe your code introduced vulnerabilities someone else exploited. I'll be reviewing every commit and every data stream from your team. Ethan pales. You can't seriously think I can, and I will. Madison cuts in. Because the stakes are national security. This breach could expose vulnerabilities in military defense grids, civilian infrastructure, and critical emergency systems. Lives are at stake. Samantha steps closer, her voice dropping. Colonel, you understand the magnitude of what you're saying. If this becomes public, Vanguard's stock will crater. Half the projects in this building will freeze. Thousands of people could lose their jobs. Madison holds her gaze, cold and unwavering. National security outweighs stock prices, and if we don't find the source, the entire country could pay the price. A muscle ticks in Samantha's jaw. Do you have any idea who's behind it? Madison takes a slow breath, the words burning like acid in her throat. The infiltration originated under an administrative profile registered to Daniel Pierce. Every eye in the room swivels to Daniel. Daniel's lips part, but no sound comes out. His fingers curl around the edge of the table. That has to be a mistake, he whispers. Madison's voice cracks like a whip. Is it because the logs don't lie? Dad, either your credentials were stolen, or you're the leak. A sharp intake of breath echoes around the room. Ethan surges to his feet, hands slamming the table. Madison. What the hell? You can't accuse our father of espionage. Madison shoots him a look, ice in her tone. I'm not accusing. I'm investigating. And if you want to help this company survive, you'll stay out of my way. Daniel finally finds his voice, hoarse and trembling. I've given 30 years of my life to this company. You think I'd sell it out to foreign actors? To traitors? To anyone? Madison meets his eyes, softer for just a flicker of a second. Then help me prove it. Samantha raises a hand, commanding silence. Colonel Pierce, I assume you'll need full access to our systems. Effective immediately. Madison replies, any delay could mean losing the window to track whoever's behind this. I'm assigning Pentagon cyber teams to work alongside your staff. This is no longer a purely corporate matter. Samantha nods curtly. Then you have Vanguard's full cooperation. She pauses, casting a lingering look around the room. To everyone here, you will answer every question Colonel Pierce asks. No exceptions. Am I clear? A chorus of murmured, yes. Ma'am follows, though fear ripples through every voice. Madison shuts her laptop with a precise click. This investigation will be discreet, but I won't spare anyone from scrutiny, family included. She rises from her chair, the silver eagles glinting on her shoulders. Consider this your only warning, and as she walks out of the boardroom, silence explodes behind her, the kind that happens when an entire world realizes it's standing on a trap door. The hush of the empty hallway seems louder than the rain hammering the glass outside as Madison strides from the boardroom. Behind her, the murmur of executives grows distant, like voices heard through water. But then a sharp call breaks the silence. "Madison, wait!" She halts mid-step, spine rigid. It's Daniel. Madison turns slowly to see him standing outside the conference room, Ethan hovering a step behind. Daniel's face looks older than it did an hour ago. Eyes sunken, shoulders bowed under an invisible weight. He gestures toward a glass-walled office nearby. "Please, a minute, just us." Madison hesitates, then jerks her chin toward the office door. Inside, the quiet is suffocating. Rain trails down the windows in shimmering ribbons as the three of them stand in a ragged triangle. Daniel tries to speak, then closes his mouth, as though swallowing words too heavy to lift. "Mads," Ethan finally blurts out, voice low. "Come on. You can't really believe Dad did this. You just dropped a nuclear bomb in there." Madison fixes him with a hard stare. "This isn't about belief, it's about evidence." Daniel raises trembling hands. "Madison, I swear to God, I didn't leak anything. I'm not some spy." "Then how did your credentials show up in the infiltration logs?" Dad, Madison demands, her voice taut as wire. Daniel shakes his head, breath hitching. I don't know. Maybe someone spoofed my login, maybe a keylogger. Jesus, I don't know how any of this happened." Ethan steps forward, his tone pleading. "Madison, look, I know you're doing your job, but this is Dad. You're talking about our family. You can't just go scorched earth on him." Madison's eyes burn, though her voice stays like ice. "I don't want to, but I took an oath. Ethan, and right now, the logs don't care who my father is." Daniel slumps into a chair, pressing his fists against his forehead. "My whole career, 30 years. I've built everything I have at Vanguard. I'd never sell out this company, or my country. Never." Madison swallows hard. "Then help me clear your name." How Daniel rasps. "Give me full access to your files, your devices, everything. No locked folders, no private backups. If you're innocent, I'll prove it." Daniel lifts his head, eyes glistening. "You'd really investigate your own father." Madison's chest tightens, every syllable scraping her raw. "If I don't, and you're innocent, you'd carry this suspicion forever. I'm the only one who can end it." Ethan drags a hand through his hair, voice cracking. "Mads, you don't get how this looks. You're in that uniform, talking like we're strangers. It's like you've become someone else." Madison steps closer to him, her expression fierce. "I'm still me, but the stakes are bigger than this family. You think I want this? You think I want to come home and tear my own life apart?" Her voice breaks then, just for an instant, before she pulls it back under control. "I need to know the truth. Ethan, one way or the other?" A silence settles, thick as concrete. "Finally," Daniel whispers, "you'll have my files, all of it. Whatever you need?" Madison exhales, her shoulders sagging. "Thank you." Daniel scrubs a hand over his eyes, voice trembling. "I never wanted this for you. I always thought you'd come back to Ashford, settle down, find a normal life." Madison looks at him, exhaustion swimming in her eyes. "There's no normal for me anymore. Dad, not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done." She reaches out, squeezing his shoulder. "But if you're innocent, I'll make sure the world knows it." And though the distance between them feels impossibly vast, for a moment, Daniel nods, eyes glistening, as though he finally understands who his daughter has become. Madison leaves the glass office with her father's reluctant consent still echoing in her ears, her pulse pounding like a drumline beneath her collar. Outside, the Vanguard corridors churn with hushed conversations, glances darting toward her uniform as though people fear merely looking her way might implicate them. She barely makes it 10 steps before her secure phone buzzes in her breast pocket, vibrating like a living thing. Cole Pierce. New alert. Possible live exfiltration in progress. Target Vanguard R&D servers. Threat level severe. Madison freezes mid-stride, her breath catching. A live attack. Now. She spins and barrels back into the command center, pushing past startled employees. Inside, the room is lit by a wall of monitors streaming code, threat graphs, and network maps. Red lines spike across digital charts like cardiac arrest on an EKG. A young woman in Vanguard security blues looks up, panic etched into her eyes. "Colonel Pierce, ma'am, we've got live data moving outbound. We can't trace the endpoint. It's bouncing across half the globe." Madison leans over her shoulder, eyes flicking between strings of code. "How much data's moving?" 56 gigs so far, and counting." Madison's fingers fly over the keyboard, pulling up encryption signatures. Her eyes narrow as a pattern flashes in a microsecond burst. A pattern she recognizes. A pattern she once created. "No, it's my own defense routing protocol. Someone's repurposed my damn security layer to hide their exit nodes." Her blood goes cold. They're using her code. Against her. Isolate that segment. Quarantine every pipe feeding into that data stream. Do it now. "But, ma'am, that'll drop the live servers." "Do it!" Red lights flare along the tops of the monitors. Engineers scramble. Voices overlapping in a high, desperate chorus. Screens flicker. Servers drop offline one by one. Kernel exfiltration halted. A beat of silence rings through the room like the aftermath of a gunshot. Madison draws a shaky breath, the adrenaline crash leaving her limbs trembling. Samantha Blake bursts in, hair windblown, eyes blazing. "What the hell is happening?" Madison turns to face her. "Someone inside your company just tried to move 56 gigs of data out of your R&D environment live. They used my own defensive architecture as camouflage." Samantha stares at her. "Your own code. Jesus, Madison, what the hell are we dealing with?" Madison shakes her head slowly. "Either someone very smart, or someone with intimate knowledge of my methodologies. Which means whoever's doing this is closer than we thought." Samantha curses under her breath. "This goes beyond the breach logs." Madison nods grimly. "And it gets worse." She keys up another window on the monitors, bringing up fresh logs. The target wasn't just proprietary software. Whoever was exfiltrating data was pulling blueprints tied directly to critical national infrastructure. Power grids, emergency response networks. That's not just corporate espionage. That's potential sabotage. A deadly silence drops over the room. Samantha's voice is barely above a whisper. "If that gets out, the government will tear Vanguard apart." Madison's jaw tightens. "Which is why I need unfettered access. Samantha, full transparency. No more compartments. No more departmental secrets." Samantha breathes hard, nodding. "You'll have it." Meanwhile, Ethan stands in the corner, ashen-faced, eyes darting between the monitors and Madison. "Madison, you said the data pattern matches your code. Are you saying someone you trained, someone in the army, could be behind this?" Madison hesitates, feeling an ache twist through her chest. "I don't know yet, but whoever it is, they know me. And they're smart enough to exploit exactly how I'd try to stop them." Ethan takes a step forward, voice raw. "Jesus. Mads, do you even hear yourself? We're talking about espionage, terrorism. You can't handle this alone." Madison shoots him a look that could cut steel. "I've handled worse, but I'm not here to play hero. I'm here to end this." She turns back to the glowing screens, her voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. No matter who's behind it, no matter what it costs, and for the first time, Ethan sees his sister not as the stubborn kid who always defied the family plan, but as the soldier who might be the only thing standing between the country and catastrophe. Madison stands at the center of Vanguard's command room, fingers poised above the keyboard, the air crackling with the static buzz of servers spinning back to life. All eyes are on her, Samantha. Engineers. Analysts, their faces pale but expectant, waiting for the verdict only she can deliver. Madison exhales, slow and steady, then taps a final command. Code floods the screen in clean green lines instead of red. Network secure. The exfiltration path's been severed completely. A stunned silence falls over the room. Then a wave of exhalations, as if the entire building has been holding its breath. Samantha lets out a shaky laugh, pressing a hand to her chest. Colonel Pierce, I think you just saved this company's life. Madison doesn't smile. Not yet. We're still not done. Daniel appears in the doorway, haggard and pale, clutching a folder. Madison, there's something you need to see. Madison spins, her eyes narrowing as he steps closer. Daniel holds out the folder with trembling hands. These are my logs from the last 6 months. I kept them outside Vanguard Systems. Private, in case something like this ever happened. Madison hesitates, then takes the folder, flipping through dense lines of printouts, login times. Connection trails, server pings. Her breath catches. This isn't your usual work. No, Daniel murmurs. I started noticing anomalies, patterns that didn't fit. I couldn't figure it out, but whoever it was, they were smart enough to copy my digital signature. Madison's eyes flick across the pages. Dad, these logs show someone piggybacking your credentials. They were in the system when you weren't even on site. Daniel looks up at her, voice breaking. So, I'm not the traitor. Madison finally allows herself the smallest smile. No, Dad, you're not. Ethan lets out a ragged breath, dropping into a nearby chair. Jesus, Mads, so who the hell was it? Madison's fingers fly over the keyboard, cross-checking timestamps, matching them to the private logs. Her eyes widen as a name appears in the final line of code. No. Who? Samantha demands, leaning closer. Madison turns the screen toward them. Kara, Ethan's wife. She's been feeding data to an offshore shell company. Every detail about Vanguard's national infrastructure projects. Ethan reels back as if struck. Kara, my Kara! Madison nods grimly. She's been playing a long game. Ethan, she had access to your devices, your credentials. She used your proximity to Vanguard to siphon data. Ethan sinks forward, face buried in his hands. An hour later, federal agents arrive, escorting a stunned Kara out in cuffs, her designer coat soaked in the rain. Madison watches from the glass hallway, the neon lights of squad cars flashing against the wet asphalt below. Samantha steps up beside her. You uncovered a traitor, saved $1 billion project, and prevented a national crisis, all in a single day. Madison shakes her head. No, we did it, and it's not over. There'll be fallout, audits, investigations. Samantha tilts her head. But at least it won't be a funeral. Daniel edges closer, voice soft. Madison, I'm proud of you. I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner. I thought the army was beneath you. I was wrong. Madison looks at him, eyes glimmering. Thanks, Dad. Daniel's voice breaks. You saved all of us. Madison exhales, feeling the weight of the day sliding off her shoulders at last. That's my job. And as dawn breaks over the skyline, Madison stands tall in her uniform, silver eagles gleaming under the first pale sun rays. She's no longer just the daughter who left home. She's the soldier who came back and saved everything worth fighting for. 6 months later, Madison sits on the balcony of her D.C. condo, warm evening breeze ruffling her hair as the city glitters below, headlights winding like fireflies through the streets. The skyline glows amber under the sinking sun, the distant dome of the Capitol shining like a beacon. Behind her, soft voices drift from her living room, where family gathers. Daniel and Linda sitting close together on the couch. Ethan perched on the armrest, quiet but at ease. A framed photograph sits on the console table. Madison in uniform, flanked by Samantha Blake and high-ranking Pentagon officials, ribbons crisp on her chest. But tonight, she wears jeans and a soft gray sweater, barefoot, leaning back against a chair cushion, letting herself breathe. Daniel emerges onto the balcony, 2 coffee mugs in hand. He offers one to Madison, who accepts it gratefully. Still can't get used to the idea of my daughter running national security operations. Madison smiles faintly, steam curling from her cup. Well, sometimes I can't get used to it either. Daniel sits beside her, eyes on the skyline. You know, there was a time I thought success meant corner offices and stock options. But you've taught me it can mean something else entirely. Madison's gaze softens. I didn't want to prove you wrong. Dad, I just wanted to prove myself right. Daniel nods, swallowing hard. I wish I'd realized sooner how much courage that takes. Inside, Ethan leans against the doorframe, listening, his expression shadowed with memories. You know, I still wake up some nights thinking Kara's beside me. And then I remember everything. Madison looks at him gently. You didn't see it coming. None of us did. Yeah, but you did, Ethan says, voice low. And I'm glad you were there to stop it. Even if it blew our world apart. Madison reaches for his hand, squeezing it. Sometimes things have to break, so we can build something stronger. Later. The family gathers around Madison's small dining table. Plates are stacked with takeout Thai, chopsticks clicking as laughter drifts through the room. For the first time in years, Madison sees her father's eyes light up as he listens to her talk about new Pentagon initiatives, not as if he's humoring her, but as if he's genuinely interested. Linda peppers her with questions about life in D. Her voice tinged with cautious pride rather than gentle disapproval. Ethan, quieter than he used to be, leans forward, eager to learn, no longer locked in competition. As the meal winds down, Madison stands, raising her glass. I've been thinking a lot these past months about everything that happened, and I want to share something I've learned. The room quiets. People will underestimate you. Sometimes the people who should believe in you the most. It hurts. But it doesn't define you. Because the truth about who you are, what you're capable of, that's yours to protect. Even when nobody else sees it. She pauses, letting the silence settle. And sometimes you'll have to stand alone, against family, friends, even the world. But if what you're protecting is right, it's worth it. Ethan lifts his glass slightly. To standing alone and coming back stronger, and to finding people who finally see you, Madison adds, her voice steady. Later that night, as dishes are cleared and conversation drifts into soft murmurs, Madison steps back out onto her balcony. She gazes over the city, lights twinkling like distant stars. She thinks of secrets buried in code, of trust broken and rebuilt, of how close the country came to disaster, and of the girl who once sat in her childhood bedroom, tracing glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, wondering if she'd ever be enough. Madison takes a slow, deep breath, the cool night air filling her lungs. I was always enough, she whispers. And as the breeze lifts her hair, she lets herself believe it, fully and completely, knowing that even when people fail to see your worth, the fight to protect what matters is never wasted. Not ever.